So Iran is seeing this unravel before its very eyes. The Ayatollahs are running scared. And oh, guess what? Donald Trump is back in office on January 20th. That means two things. Number one, he will resume his maximum pressure campaign against the Iranian regime. That means sanctions, economic pressure. But number two, Iran's nuclear weapons program is more vulnerable right now than at any time. It would have been vulnerable even if Donald Trump didn't take office, by the way, for the mere reason of what I just laid out. The big insurance policy on against an Iranian nuclear strike for the Ayatollahs was, look, okay, Israel, if you dare strike our nuclear facilities, guess what? We're activating Hezbollah. We're activating Hamas on your borders. They're going to rain down thousands of rockets, missiles, drones. They may even invade on the ground. If you dare strike our nuclear sites. Iran, in a sense, felt untouchable. I've said before here in the live stream, evil is arrogant, first and foremost. We've seen it time and time again. We saw it, for instance, with Qasem Soleimani, the not so dearly departed Iranian terror master who Donald Trump took out in January 2020 during his first term. Soleimani was kind of gallivanting around the Middle East, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, just kind of going around, making his rounds, and no fear. This was the architect of Iran's entire terror apparatus in the Middle East, and he felt untouchable until he was touchable, and he's no longer with us. And I think the Iranian regime felt the same way, certainly prior to October 7th. But even after that, vis-a-vis their nuclear weapons program, they thought all along, Israel won't dare strike our nuclear facilities because they know that the 800-pound gorilla Hezbollah is perched on their northern border and ready to strike. Iran felt good. And they said, we've got a weak U.S. administration, Biden, Harris. They're gift wrapping us, say the mullahs. Millions, billions, I should say, in sanctions relief. They don't want to fight. They make some noise from time to time, but there's no teeth behind it. That's how Iran did feel. Now it's completely different. As we mentioned, ring of fire unraveling, air defenses eliminated, sitting ducks, and now the Assad regime. As I reported on yesterday's live stream, Assad's air defenses have been destroyed by Israel in just the past few days alone. In a stunning development, in 48 hours, Israel essentially destroyed Syria's military so that it couldn't fall into the hands of the jihadis who have just assumed power in much of that country. We're talking Bashar al-Assad's naval fleet, his air force, his chemical weapon stockpiles, missiles destroyed, some 80% of his arsenal destroyed, and his air defenses destroyed. That leaves Iran even more vulnerable because now Israel did have to worry. Look, if we go to bomb Iran, we have to worry about Assad's air defenses. You don't got to worry about that now. Or Iran's air defenses, for that matter. On October 26th, when Israel eliminated those air defenses, Israeli fighter jets, some 100 of them, operated with impunity for hours above the skies of Iran. They returned back to Israel without a scratch. All of this brings us up to Donald Trump and what he is saying about Iran's nuclear weapons program and about what he may do in 38 short days when he takes office. Now, to preface this, remember about a month and a half ago, after Iran struck Israel on October 1st, the largest ballistic missile attack in military history, that's what Iran launched against Israel. Thankfully, it was largely unsuccessful, but Israel said, yeah, we can't take this lying down. It was the second time in the span of 5 months that Iran struck Israel directly with barrages of ballistic missiles. Israel struck back and struck back hard on October 26th. Took out Iran's air defenses, destroyed, by the way, also a top secret Iranian nuclear research facility. So that hurt what Israel did on October 26th. But Trump said at the time, when Israel was preparing to respond in between the Iranian attack and the Israeli counterattack, Trump said, look, someone asked him about it. He said, it's a massive threat, Iran's nuclear program. And he said, if Israel is going to hit anything, they should hit the nuclear, right? Yeah, it's basically what he said. I think he actually said the nuclear. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but Trump seems supportive of an Israeli strike against Iran's nuclear weapons program in that instance. And now we have the big news today that, and you may be distracted. This may not have captured headlines, I should say, because we also have a drone problem right here in America. If you've been following this, and we have viewers from around the world, but this is a pretty big story here in the States right now. I can tell you, no matter where you're watching in the world, we've got these unidentified objects, drones, some sort of aircraft, a bunch of them. And for the past 3 weeks, they've been hovering above the state of New Jersey and also New York and Pennsylvania, my old stomping grounds. No one quite seems to know what they are or where they came from. And the U.S. government, meaning the Biden-Harris administration, say, we have no idea. An FBI official yesterday testified on Capitol Hill and said, we don't know what they are. So this has been going on for 3 weeks. No one has sought to maybe intercept one of these drones. And they're pretty large and they're lit up. I mean, they're very visible. But this is the state of things. And that's why Trump coming back in office is so important. If you're an American, there's echoes of the Chinese spy balloon debacle 2 years ago. There was no sense of urgency then on the part of the Biden White House, and there's no sense of urgency now, as more and more Americans are saying, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? People are concerned. So that's happening right now. And as that's happening, it's really capturing the headlines, and understandably so. This very major interview, I think that, not interview, I'm sorry, but this piece in the Wall Street Journal today about Trump's intentions regarding Iran's nuclear program came out. I want to quote it to you. Before I do, quick reminder to subscribe to the Watchman News channel right here on YouTube and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted, of course. It is the times, folks. These are the times. And these are certainly times where you need fresh, up-to-date, cutting-edge information from a biblical, unapologetically biblical perspective. That's why we invite you to join us here on The Watchman every day as our watchmen and women on the wall, again, for such a time as this. We'd love to have you here with us as subscribers. But Donald Trump, and by the way, the drone story, we unpack it more tonight on Stakelbeck Tonight. That's my nightly show on TBN. Every weeknight, Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with a re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on TBN. Don't miss that. Here's what Trump said, or is what he's considering, I should say. According to the Wall Street Journal, I'm just reading this straight off my phone. Trump is weighing options to stop Iran from going nuclear, including preemptive strikes. Let's unpack it. The incoming U.S. administration is said to be planning a maximum pressure 2.0 campaign against Tehran. They may threaten military action or even back an Israeli attack, but the U.S. under President Trump will still seek to avoid war. The report from the Wall Street Journal came as Israel reportedly is drawing up plans, as we discussed on the live stream this week, for a potential attack on Iranian nuclear facilities amid growing concern that the Islamic Republic is poised to build a bomb. And it could rush to finally do so. Iran and its proxies are weakened right now after more than a year of war against Israel. And, you know, we said this yesterday, if you're Iran, and as I just laid out, your defenses are shattered, your proxies are shattered, Israel has an easy pass, essentially, to your nuclear sites. What's the one way? And the regime's threatened by this, right? The toppling of the Iranian regime, it's all on the table. What's the one way you can stay in power? The one, in this day and age, in the world we live in, pretty strong guarantee that you'll probably stay in power, unless you have just a complete internal revolution, which is always on the table in Iran. The people of Iran are the biggest victims of this wicked regime. But in terms of foreign actors coming against you, if you are a nuclear power, you can pretty much stave off those threats. You've got deterrence. And Iran is probably right now, not probably, they absolutely are having some very hard discussions in the palace of the supreme leader. And they're saying, hey, wait a minute. Look at what North Korea did. North Korea acquired the bomb. Now they have 20, 30 at least nuclear weapons. And all of a sudden, everyone said, well, we're not going to mess with Kim Jong-un. He's got the bomb. And he's working on intercontinental ballistic missiles that he could mount with bombs that could reach America, the west coast of the United States. Iran's working on the same ICBMs, but I digress. But the Ayatollahs are probably saying, hey, it worked for North Korea. Why wouldn't it work for us? Why not break out and acquire the bomb? And then no one will mess with us, and our regime is untouchable. Proxies or no proxies, air defenses or no air defenses. We're a nuclear power. We dare you to strike us. That's got to be on the table for them. What also has to be on the table is what we're talking about right now, that if they do that, Israel and very likely under Donald Trump, the United States will have something to say about that preemptively. I should say if they attempt to do that, they may not get very far because Israel has excellent intelligence on the ground in Iran. Clearly, they've proven that time and time again. And President Trump, when he says, look, we're not going to allow you to have the bomb, he actually means it. There's teeth behind it, unlike Joe Biden, who paid it lip service. But at the end of the day, I can tell you the Biden administration would have said, if Iran broke out and announced we've got the bomb, the Biden administration may have sanctioned them. But at the end of the day, the conversation inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. would have been, you know what, tough break for Israel, but we can contain a nuclear Iran. They won't really use the bomb. They don't actually mean it. It's just an insurance policy. Well, guess what? When you have radical Islamic ideologues who are hell-bent on destroying Israel, it's a very good chance they would use the bomb eventually. They would create leverage with it, of course, in the beginning, but then eventually their ideology demands it. Their ideology demands that they use it. This is a regime that is demonically obsessed with eliminating Israel. Evil is arrogant, evil is relentless, and evil can be quite stupid as well. But eventually, after they sucked all the leverage they could out of being a nuclear power, they would use it. And Israel realizes this because they're up against true apocalyptic Islamic jihadist ideologues in the form of this Iranian regime. And do you want to take that chance? They wouldn't use it? Well, maybe they won't use it. Yeah, they've got it, but we trust them to be responsible actors. Everything the Iranian regime has done for 45 years has shown they are not responsible actors. Everything they touch turns to chaos, misery, and destruction, whether it's Yemen, Syria, Gaza, Lebanon, Iraq, or Iran itself. So what makes you think they would suddenly, if they got the bomb, suddenly have a moment of rationality and say, you know what, we're not going to use it. We're going to be responsible stewards of our nuclear weapons? Highly doubtful. When you have a jihadist, apocalyptic-minded regime whose entire eschatology seems to revolve around destroying the world's one and only Jewish state. More here. This Wall Street Journal report, Trump says that Trump has told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in recent calls that he wants to avoid an Iranian breakout during his term in office, of course, though he seeks a means of stopping the Islamic Republic from going nuclear that does not trigger a new war, especially one in which U.S. troops would become involved. They're working on a maximum pressure 2.0 plan. 1.0 was Trump's first term, recreating the policy of aggressive sanctions on Iran that Trump pursued during his first term when he pulled out of the Obama nuclear deal, which was madness and a disaster. There are several different ways, according to this report, that military pressure could be used to deter Tehran. First, Trump could send more forces, ships, and warplanes to the region, while also bolstering Israel's offensive capabilities through the sale of bunker-busting bombs. That all seems likely. But if that fails, the U.S. could take a more combative stance and threaten to use direct military force. Trump said in an interview with Time magazine, by the way, he's the man of the year for Time magazine, how the tide has turned. They had his mugshot 6 months ago. Now he's a man of the year on the cover. Only God. But Trump said, anything can happen. It's a very volatile situation. Trump reportedly considered preemptive strikes on Iran's nuclear sites during the latter part of his first term, but ultimately decided against it. This time, according to this Wall Street Journal report, his administration may be open to supporting an Israeli strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. And one reason is that Iran allegedly plotted to kill him. As we discussed here on the live stream, Iran over the past few years has been plotting to assassinate not only President Trump, but other former Trump administration officials. So Trump's got a bit of motivation there that Iran's been coming after him directly. And by the way, the report went on to say what we shared this week as well, that Israeli officials believe, again, this is the time. This is a golden window, a golden opportunity to strike Iran's nuclear weapons facilities. In terms of a war starting, if Israel, I don't see a scenario where you need U.S. boots on the ground in Iran. Israel hasn't needed boots on the ground in Iran, yet Israel just destroyed Iran's air defense systems and a top secret nuclear research facility. I think when you're talking about a strike against Iran, you're not talking about a land invasion with tens of thousands of American troops occupying Iran. No one's talking about that. I think what you're talking about is pinpoint strikes on Iran's nuclear weapons facilities. And Iran could respond to a degree, but when they respond, the counter response will be even more punishing. So I don't think there's a scenario, whether the U.S. would do it or not, I don't see a scenario where this would require a buildup of forces to invade Iran. It's not that kind of operation, it seems. I don't think Israel's thinking that way either, obviously. Look, Israel destroyed Saddam Hussein's nuclear reactor in 1981. It destroyed Bashar al-Assad's nuclear reactor in 2007. They didn't need troops on the ground to do it. Now, granted, I know that Iran's nuclear facilities are spread out. They're deep underground. They're very hardened. But that's not what Israel's thinking, ground troops, other than special ops, special operations, some forces, a small contingent on the ground. By the way, if you're Iran right now, I just mentioned that Israel destroyed Bashar al-Assad's reactor in Syria back in 2007. If you're Iran, you're looking at North Korea, of course, but you're also looking at Bashar al-Assad and you're saying, hey, if Assad had the bomb, he'd still be in power. There's a very good chance he would still be in power. There's a very good chance if he was nuclear equipped and Israel didn't take that reactor out in 2007, that Assad would still be in power. Then maybe there never would have been a Syrian civil war. So Iran is watching and they're weighing their options and they're weighing the different precedents. I think the most likely course of action here, and Israeli officials said on Thursday, look, again, golden opportunity. I find it hard to believe that Israel won't take advantage of this opportunity, especially with Donald Trump in office. And Trump is probably saying, look, if we, we'll support the strike against the Iranian nuclear facilities and Israeli strike, we'll give you the bunker busters and make it as, if it's possible, make it as least messy as possible. But that seems unlikely. But I think the most likely course of action, at least tentatively, would be Trump gets behind Israel doing it and supplies the bunker busting bombs and gives Israel support. Would the U.S. get involved directly? Perhaps. Perhaps it could be in tandem. Who knows how angry Trump is about those Iranian plots against his life? I'm sure he's none too pleased. And he strikes me as someone who has a long memory when it comes to an adversary like the Iranian regime, needless to say. So I think it's all on the table. And I think the fact that this is even being leaked right now, it just scares the Ayatollahs even more. And this could be a means of leverage. Trump's the ultimate deal maker, right? This could be a means of leverage for him where the Ayatollahs are saying, where they're playing hardball with the Biden administration, which was weak and feckless, and acted as the junior partner. And in the Iranian Biden nuclear talks, you would have thought that Iran was the stronger power and not the U.S. Same with Obama years ago. Trump has all the leverage, and the U.S. and by extension, Israel have all the leverage right now. Iran has none. All they can do, what can they give the United States right now? So they may be more willing to play ball. This nuclear program has been their crown jewel. We know that. But if they want to hang on to power at this moment when they're so weak, they may be willing to do business all of a sudden like they hadn't before. Their backs are against the wall in Tehran. How vulnerable are they? We're about to find out. If they are all of a sudden amenable to an agreement that is favorable to the U.S., to the free world, then you know, okay, they're desperate. We're about to find out. This is a very interesting report today about how Donald Trump has a lot of issues. I mentioned the border earlier, a lot of issues he's got to tackle on day one. This is near the top of the list, Iran's nuclear program. We will continue to inform you about this. And the last thing I want to mention, as we've talked about the Ring of Fire unraveling, the Houthis in Yemen, yes, they still exist. They're still harassing shipping in the Red Sea, including U.S. shipping. I think that's going to end come January 20th. They're getting their last licks in, and they're also launching projectiles at Israel still. There's now reports that Israel may hit the Houthis hard. Excuse me. Now, remember, over the past few months, they've already hit the Houthis. They're the Yemen-backed jihadis, Iranian-backed jihadis in Yemen. Israel hit the Hodeidah port very hard in Yemen twice in response to Yemen attacking Israel. Now Israel, I think, is getting fed up. And now that Hezbollah, Hamas, Syria aren't posing that imminent existential threat, Israel may have a little more time, although it's not ideal, but to send a serious message to the Houthis. Because right now, with Hamas and Hezbollah so weakened, and sorry, my phone just went off for some reason there. Hamas and Hezbollah so weakened, Assad gone, Iran itself weakened. It's up to the Houthis to carry the mantle of the Ring of Fire. So the Houthis have been unleashing some barrages as of late against Israel. And Israel's probably saying, you know what, we showed Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, Iran itself. Time to send a message to the Houthis. So do not be surprised, folks, if you see some Israeli action against the Houthis in Yemen sometime soon, because it's unsustainable. The Houthis continue to launch projectiles at Israel. Israel's kind of not ignored it, but Israel responded very forcefully twice, and the Houthis didn't get the memo clearly. So they are playing with fire, and Israel, just as it did with Hezbollah, for a year, tit for tat, and then Israel went all in and smashed Hezbollah. There may be a smashing of the Houthis to come. I don't think it's going to be a sustained thing in Yemen, but some serious, effective pinpoint strikes against perhaps Houthi leaders, we'll see. But if no nation can countenance another nation launching projectiles at it on a regular basis, then that's the situation we have right now with Israel and Yemen. A lot going on in the world's most volatile and chaotic region. That's why we are glad you are here with us. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to check out the Stakelbeck Tonight show on TBN every weeknight, again, Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with a re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If anything happens over the weekend, we'll be back with you here live with an update. Until next time, enjoy your weekend. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below.